Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about what makes Stellar an ideal technology platform to launch a token or to launch an ICO. I'm Boris, one of the early employees of the Stellar Development Foundation and Lightyear.io, which is a company that builds software on top of the Stellar protocol. So in this webinar, we're going to focus on a few topics. First, we're going to give a brief overview of Stellar and what it is. Then we're going to look at the features of Stellar that make it an ideal platform for ICOs versus some of the other platforms out there. We're going to look at some services we've built to make it a seamless process for both investors and entrepreneurs. And finally, we'll do a quick demo of some of the Stellar features. So this webinar should be interesting for anyone who has done an ICO already or is in the process of launching one now. If you want to know more about Stellar, or if you just want to trade cryptocurrencies, this should be interesting for all of you guys. So, what is Stellar? Stellar was founded about 3 years ago by Jed McCaleb, who also co-founded Ripple and eDonkey, among other companies. At a high level, Stellar is a platform that connects banks, payment systems, and people around the world and allows you to move money quickly, reliably, and at almost no cost. You can think of Stellar as infrastructure for payments. And as infrastructure for payments, Stellar was designed from the start to make it really easy for financial institutions to issue tokens representing fiat currencies. So things like euros, dollars, Nigerian naira, Japanese yen, etc. And this design philosophy means that assets or tokens representing assets are first-class citizens in the Stellar ecosystem. Stellar also features a built-in distributed exchange, which allows people to not only buy and sell currencies like they would in a typical foreign exchange way, but also to seamlessly convert from one currency to another during cross-border or cross-currency transactions. And we'll see why that's important in a sec. In effect, it turns out that the same features that you'd need for a fast and efficient cross-border payments engine is actually the same exact feature set that you want in a general purpose token issuance platform that you'd want to use in an ICO. So now that we understand a little bit about what Stellar is and how it was designed, let's dive into some of the factors that make Stellar a really good platform for token issuance and ICOs. So there are 4 primary factors that I want to touch on today: liquidity, performance, security, and ease of use. So let's start with liquidity. So this one is actually really interesting for a lot of people. There are literally thousands of tokens being issued right now, and each one of them is going to want to be listed on a third-party exchange. But these exchanges don't have the capacity to list all these coins, or they might make you wait a long time, or they might charge you an arm and a leg to do it, or they might not do it at all. With Stellar, you don't need to depend on these third-party exchanges to list your token, because Stellar's built-in exchange allows you to list your token yourself as soon as you issue it. So basically that means that you can have day one liquidity. You can allow people to trade your token right from the get-go if that's what you want. Of course, if you want some lockup period or something like that, that's possible as well. So there are 2 important things to note here. We believe that a lot of the coins that are being issued right now are securities or will be considered securities in the future. So Stellar features tools that allow token issuers to customize tokens to satisfy securities, consumer protection, and anti-money laundering regulatory requirements. And so this includes things like whitelisting potential contributors. You can limit the number of holders that can hold your token, or you can revoke access to tokens in the event of misuse or exploit. And the second thing is to clear up a common misconception, which is that if you issue a token on Stellar, it can only be traded on the Stellar exchange. But that's actually not true. Stellar token can just as easily be added to a third-party exchange like Poloniex or something like that as an ERC20 token can, so it's not a mutually exclusive thing. It's just that issuing on Stellar gives you the added ability to make your token available for trading right away, while you might wait for it to be listed at a third-party exchange. All right, so the second factor to consider is performance. Stellar is significantly cheaper and faster than other protocols, including Ethereum, which is, of course, the de facto platform that people are using these days. If you look at Ethereum, the median confirmation time for a transaction is about 3 to 5 minutes, which is compared to just 5 seconds on Stellar. So Stellar is actually a way faster system. But even worse than that is the average cost of a transaction on Ethereum. When we published our blog post about the advantages of using Stellar for ICOs back in July, the median gas price for transactions on Ethereum was about 10 cents, which is pretty hefty. But if you look now, the median gas price is up to 32 cents, and that's actually even worse than a credit card transaction. And if you compare that to Stellar, transactions on Stellar cost a fraction of a cent, and there's no gas fee for computations. So that makes Stellar a significantly faster and cheaper platform than Ethereum. And that actually dovetails nicely into our next topic, which is around security. Stellar features an expressive but purposely limited system for smart contracts. Ethereum, as many of you know, offers a Turing-complete scripting language, which basically means that you can write up whatever complicated, sophisticated smart contracts that you want. And though this flexibility can be nice in theory, in practice it allows for developers to write exploitable code. And we've seen this time and time again in the past few months and years, where anonymous hackers have stolen millions of dollars by exploiting vulnerabilities in these Turing-complete smart contracts. You can think of things like Parity Wallet or the DAO. Even contracts that have been thoroughly audited by the developer community have been exploited. And if you compare that to Stellar, the simplicity of the Stellar model helps developers avoid these situations and provides much greater security to applications that don't require the generality of Turing-complete smart contracts. And I think this really applies to the vast majority of ICOs out there that don't have such sophisticated needs that would require a Turing-complete language. So the smart contract operations that are available on Stellar can be combined to create sophisticated and fairly complex behaviors that we think really fulfill the need of most organizations that are considering issuing a token. So for example, you can think of things like bonds, escrow, dividends, inflation. All of these types of features are available and can be built on the Stellar protocol. Anything that Stellar doesn't support on the protocol level, you can think of business logic like subscriptions or automated payments, for example. All of that can and should be built into the client app that you build for your business. In fact, a big part of why the Ethereum network is as slow as it is precisely because each node has to process all of these complex smart contracts, the majority of which don't really need to be processed on the blockchain level in the first place. So let's move on to the next topic, which is ease of use. In short, launching a token on Stellar is super easy. Like I mentioned, it's very easy to issue tokens on Stellar. Simple tokens can be created in a matter of hours, and more complex ones can be set up over the course of a day or two. And what's also important to note is because Stellar offers a powerful but simple system for smart contracts, you don't need to hire an expensive Solidity smart contract developer. In fact, somebody with even a basic understanding of technical things can learn how to set it up fairly quickly. Another thing I want to mention is about the investor experience. So a lot of the entrepreneurs that I've spoken with recently have expressed a concern that not every investor may be familiar with Stellar, or that they might not have lumens to contribute to a Stellar ICO. But this is actually a misconception. We've built a free tool that allows investors to contribute Ether or Bitcoin into a Stellar-based ICO as payment, just like they're used to doing. Because fundamentally, we don't want to change investor behavior, and we also don't want to introduce any kind of barriers to participation in an ICO. And so the way this tool works is that it's an embeddable widget that you can embed in the ICO landing page. It provides the investor with an Ethereum address or a Bitcoin address, and then listens to this address for payment. And as soon as it sees that a certain number of Ether or Bitcoin has been sent, it automatically creates a Stellar account for that investor and populates it with the correct number of ICO tokens depending on the exchange rate that you set. And so, in effect, this makes participating in a Stellar ICO a very smooth experience for both the investor and the entrepreneur. All right, so now that we've gone over the features that make Stellar a great platform for ICOs, I want to give a quick demo of the Stellar Decentralized Exchange, the front end, as well as Bifrost, which is the embeddable widget I just mentioned that allows folks to contribute to Stellar-based ICOs using Ethereum and Bitcoin. We spoke a little bit about the Stellar Decentralized Exchange. Stellar Term, which you can see here, is a community-developed UI front end for the Stellar Distributed Exchange. And I just wanted to show everybody a little bit of what this looks like. So if you hit on markets here on the top, you can get a taste for just some of the assets that are available on the Stellar network for trading right now. You can see that, of course, there's the native currency of the Stellar network, lumens, but there's also fiat currencies such as renminbi, there's Japanese yen here, there's euros, there's Filipino pesos, there's also cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin available, XRP, as well as Litecoin and others. And then there are other tokens that have been issued as part of ICOs or will be issued as part of ICOs, including things like Seed or Mobi from Mobius Network, as well as a bunch of others. And so you can use Stellar Term right now to trade all of the assets that are available on the Stellar network, and we expect the number of assets and the volume of trades to keep increasing as we go along here. All right, so let's say you're ready to launch your ICO and you want to give your investors the ability to participate in the ICO using Ether or Bitcoin. So for that, I want to now switch to a quick demo of Bifrost, which is an embeddable widget that we've created to allow a Stellar-based ICO to enable investors to participate using Ether or Bitcoin. So this is a very bare bones demo. Basically, you would embed this in the ICO landing page. And basically what it does is it gives the investor an Ethereum address or Bitcoin address to send funds to, and then listens to that account, and based on the number of Ether or Bitcoin that was sent, automatically creates a Stellar account for the investor and populates it with the correct number of ICO tokens, and then displays the Stellar public and secret key to the investor automatically. So I just want to run through a quick demo of what this looks like. So here we have bfrost.stellar.org. This is the demo. So it says send testnet ether to this address. So we're going to copy that address and go to my Ether wallet here. We're going to put in the address that we want to send to. I'm going to send just one test Ether. Go ahead and generate the transaction. Send. Yes, I'm sure. All right. So now we wait for that transaction to be confirmed, and as soon as it is, so we can go back to the demo here, we see that it's working. Now it's just waiting for the Ether to hit the account, and there we go. So we've officially purchased a token using Ether, and now we're given our Stellar public key and secret key. And from here, we can go to the Stellar Wallets page, which you can access from the Stellar homepage at stellar.org. Go to Wallets up here, and then you can download any of many wallets that we have available to hold these ICO tokens. All right, thanks everybody. Here are some additional resources for you to check out if you're interested in learning more. And as always, please feel free to reach out to us at partners@stellar.org at any time. We're always happy to chat. Thanks everybody.